So in 2017, I lost a very big chunk of my business and about $150,000 a year deal due to tariffs. Something that I had spent a long time developing the relationship to put this deal together. And the real challenge, the real frustration with this was that about a year after the tariffs kicked in, both my customer and supplier asked me to step out of the way so that they could make the deal happen. So in this story, I want to share with you sort of the details of what happened, how it happened, mainly so that you can perhaps avoid some of those pitfalls that I ran into. Look, when you're a small business owner, your luck is an element you have to count on. It just is. And I know people say you make your own luck. That's a really lovely catchphrase. But in general, most of the years I've been in business, I've always had sort of a foundational customer that I could grow from. This was in 2017. Just a couple of years after I had lost my biggest customer, and maybe I'll share a video on that topic later. And it had taken me years to sort of get back on my feet. So in the case of this particular situation, I had a kind of a smaller customer in Ohio who had wanted, who had been looking for a supply of a particular product. And, I'd found a coil here, a coil there, but never really found anything consistent until I slowly began to develop a relationship with a guy up in Canada and began to find big coils. Now, the challenge with this deal was that I had to find a way to take these coils and process them sort of twice without going into every bloody detail. Anybody in the steel business probably understands what I'm saying. And it was a process. It was risky. It was expensive. But the profits were very good if you could pull all that off. And I was always known, at least I like to pride myself on being the kind of supplier that always took on the challenging deal when the big guys didn't want to. And when you're a small guy, you take on those deals. So over time, after, a rejection here, a rejection there, honing in the process, the supplier in Canada said, look, I can do some of that process up here. What if we make the deal that I take it, I process it, and I just deliver it into your customer for you? Now, I'm not dumb, and anybody that's watching this says, geez, Lou, yeah, again, when you're a small business owner, part of it is luck, and part of it is the relationship that you build. Well, I felt that I had a really good relationship with the supplier. I had a very good relationship with the customer, and I still do. And I said, look, I like the way that's working. Let me float it by. And again, months and months of making sure everybody was comfortable, because, once this stuff goes in, it's all got to be prime. It's all got to have the proper, specifics. And as I mentioned in videos before this, I am a stickler for rules. I am a stickler for, if I tell you I'm going to deliver it, it's going to get delivered. It's going to be delivered the right way. So once I had established this relationship, the steel began flowing. And as we began sending the steel in, the big end user began buying more and more, which was great. This went on for, a year and a half, to the point where I was making about 150 grand on average a year through this deal. And I began to say to myself, oh my God, I can build my business back. This is awesome. I worked my ass off. I put things together. God was on my side. Luck was on my side. It was incredible. And I began to feel a little more breath. I took a trip with my wife. Life was good. And then almost overnight, not besmirching anybody, it's just the way stuff happens, Donald Trump decided to put tariffs on Canadian steel. And the second it was announced, the second it went into effect, my business, that deal was lost immediately. Why was it lost? Because the way a tariff works is that somebody has to pay that 25% increase. Typically, if the supplier is selling it to you, you as the buyer are going to absorb it most times. That means that my customer has to absorb the increase, and my customer wasn't going to be able to do that. And so other than the last few loads that were left to ship in, I lost the deal. And over the next year, I tried to find ways to resupply it. I tried to find American suppliers to supply it, but it was tricky. And let me tell you, when you're a small business owner, supply chain, it is a tricky thing. When you're a big business, supply chain is a tricky thing. You have to know what the hell you're doing. It takes you months sometimes longer than months to establish that relationship. There has to be trust. You have to try it, etc. And I had put all that together and I lost it. And there was no real way to make it back. And like I said in the first part of the video, the hardest part was when my supplier quietly said, Lou, look, it looks like you can't supply this. I know this is a raw deal, but do you mind getting out of the way so I can go right to the supplier and keep supplying my customer? I then spoke to the supplier, who kind of quietly said the same thing. What was I supposed to say? No, you owe me money? Life doesn't work like that. I don't care what anybody says, and you can have your opinions in my video and say whatever you want, and God bless you. Life doesn't really work like that. I'm preventing 2 other people from earning a living because I can't. That was kind of my approach. And again, due to these tariffs, I not only lost the deal, but then I got knocked out of the way of the deal that I had created. What do you do, man? Sometimes life just throws you curveballs, right? What are the lessons for people that might have hopefully made it this far into the video? I know not everybody does, but if you were, lucky enough to stay with me, here are the real lessons. When you decide to start your business and you lock into one customer, and that's okay because many of us do, work fast. You have no idea when you could lose that arrangement. Sometimes you'll keep it for the life of your business. Sometimes you'll lose it in 6 months. Sometimes you'll lose it in a year and a half, like I did. Work fast. Find other customers. Find other suppliers. Don't sit still on that one. Even though that one is taking up a lot of your time and making you a lot of money, count on the fact that you're going to lose it. And if you don't lose it, great. But count on the fact that it's going to go away. Number 2, and this is hard, I don't think loyalty is what it used to be. I don't think that word means what it used to mean. Loyalty is great until you have to put food on the table, until you have to take care of your family. Then loyalty goes out the window, and you're loyal to your family. You're not loyal to your supplier. You're not loyal to your customer. You're not loyal to your bank or anyone else. You're loyal to you and your family. Not that that wasn't always the way, but over the years that I've been in this business, you had a loyalty to your customers and your suppliers and even your employers and even your employees. And as I've said in previous videos, that seems to have been lost. So understand going in, you're going to have to deal with that. That doesn't mean you're mean to other people. That means count on you losing the supply. Count on you losing that customer. And don't settle on your laurels to think that, oh, this is always going to be the way it is. Most likely it won't. And if you take those lessons with you, I think you have a good chance of success, a good chance of having success by hopefully taking some of those lessons that I've really learned the hard way. And, it's 2016 and, here I am making YouTube videos, right? Rather than buying and selling steel. And to some degree, that's a choice. At 58, buying and selling steel can be very, very, very tricky and very, very difficult. There's a lot of risk inherent in doing that. Now, that isn't to say that making videos about, personal issues that you're having, about business issues that you've had, isn't necessarily risky or stressful. But it's certainly a way to keep my foot in the door, keep my name out there, which is probably why I'm doing this. But to be fair, I enjoy making the videos. I enjoy sharing these stories, and I enjoy, maybe having a record of some of the things that happened to me so that one day my kids can look back and go, okay, we see what Dad went through. It wasn't just, why did this happen? He actually had an issue, and this is what he tried to do to come back from it. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want, subscribe. It always helps me, helps the algorithm find me out there to other people. So anyway, thanks for watching this far. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. We'll see you.